Heather McDonald has got the juicy scoop. When you're on the road, when you're on the go, Juicy Scoop is the show to know. She talks Hollywood tales, her real life Mr. Segment serial data and serial sister. You'll be addicted and addicted fast to the #1 tabloid real life podcast. Listen in, listen up. Whoop whoop. Heather McDonald, Juicy Scoop.
Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. I have such a great show. We're going to get into some hot topics. We're going to talk about Real Housewives of Atlanta. And then I have a super juicy interview with an LAPD detective. You may recognize him from the Netflix special, The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel. We get into that, but we also talk about other cases and other general detective questions. And it's a juicy, funny, interesting one. I'm excited for you guys to see it. Okay, sadly, Tiger Woods got in a horrible car accident yesterday in Palos Verdes at 7 a.m. He was driving his car to go to a shoot in where he was going to teach celebrities how to golf. His call time was at 7:30, and he left just after 7. And he was speeding down this road that has been problematic for people that are speeding. There's been many accidents there. And he was wearing a seatbelt, but he crashed and rolled his car. Nobody else was involved. He is now recovering. However, he has like a rod in his leg. It sounds like the leg and the ankle. That's going to be a problem, which is sad because he just got back into playing golf after these back surgeries. And what's interesting is in the latest article from CNN is that there was no sobriety test taken at the crime scene, at the crash, because that officer said he seemed lucid and our concern was getting him into safety. Then at the hospital, they never drew any blood to test for drug or alcohol. The department also decided, I guess that wasn't a priority. A little interesting, just saying, I don't know. So there is no record of him being on anything, and he's recovering. Just take it what you will. Glad nobody was involved. For one good thing about not having California schools in session, it was in front of a high school just after 7 a.m. And if we were in session, there'd already be kids there. So grateful for that nobody else was involved. I was going to say one more thing about California. I am going to probably tweet this, but I just want to say to our Governor Gavin Newsom, you know what would be nice? If you just put a little pressure on the Cal State universities and the UCs and say, hey, let's make our California kids a priority to attend those colleges in the next couple years. Give them top priority because they really haven't had top priority because we haven't been in school for a year. Just saying, other states have been in school and they got to play football games and be in plays. Moving on. Speaking of school, this is a juicy one, guys. Right straight to my heart. A lot of similarities here. There is a brunette mom in Sacramento. She's sending her kids to a Catholic elementary school in Sacramento, California. She has 3 boys. I have 2. She has 3. She started an OnlyFans account in which she is doing sexy mom-like things, but in lingerie. I don't know if it goes beyond that. Well, she's very upset. She's making the rounds with her husband because what sounds to be like 3 bitchy moms got into the account and made the principal aware of it. And the principal said, we need to expel your 3 boys that are like 8, 10, and 12 from the school because you broke a code of conduct that you sign when you join the school. Interesting. I know somebody personally whose kids are at a Catholic high school, and she has an OnlyFans account. I don't know if they're not aware of it. I don't know if LA doesn't care. I don't know if high school doesn't care. But I'm sure she's not the only Catholic mom doing this and using those funds to pay for private Catholic school. However, this is where the story takes an interesting turn. Yesterday morning, when I saw the article, I was reading it to my husband, Peter. And in the article, it says, with her OnlyFans subscription people, she makes $150,000 a month. At that point, Peter looked me up and down, looked my body up and down, and started seeing dollar signs. And I said, don't even give me that look. He's like, $150,000 a month. I go, first of all, I think this woman is hotter than me. Second of all, it's the one thing that my son Brandon asked me point blank as we passed Black China's house. He said, Mom, promise me that your career will never get to a place where you have an OnlyFans account. Now, I know, because I watched the OnlyFans documentary, that there are people doing other things. They're like showing their closet. Dorinda and Sonia are on it. However, I read an article saying that they have very disappointing content. But I feel it's a place for sex workers to make money and be safe. And I have my podcast and I have Patreon and I have a brain. I have a body too. But not everybody that has a hot body has the brain of me. So I feel I don't need to have an OnlyFans account. But Peter is making a case for it. So let me hear what you guys think. But I think I give enough joy to the world not showing myself in lingerie. Also because I don't own any. Okay, moving on. Kim Kardashian, you guys, she is introducing color since she filed for divorce. In fact, somebody sent her flowers. I don't know why. Maybe congrats, you're getting a divorce. Maybe you had another pellet coming out. But they're beautiful lavender roses. And she wrote, thank you to whoever gave them to her. My new favorite color with lavender hearts. This girl's been wearing 18 shades of beige for the last 7 years of her marriage. This is a great sign. All right, moving on. I feel like I'm a little bit concerned that my dog Raven got cheek fillers. She was laying out by the sun yesterday in our backyard, and I zoomed in, and I have never noticed her cheekbone before. She was left alone for a couple days with my daughter Mackenzie, who is not someone who's into cosmetic surgery. So I don't know, but it just reminds me of when you like see a friend, if you haven't seen them for a while, and then maybe you're in the back seat and they're driving, and then they turn and you're like, why does your profile look so different? That's the way I felt. Amelia Gray is absolutely with Scott Disick. We know that he has gained a few lbs, sporting a dad bod, and now he has pink hair. In this photo I have, he's got blonde, but he just got pink. And they went to South Beach or Miami, and the kids, they all had dinner. She went to dinner with the children. Now, she is 19 and he is 37, and his last girlfriend was 19. I think she aged out of dating him at 21. That's Sophia Richie. And then he went to date Amelia Gray, who is Amelia Gray Hamlin, Harry fucking Hamlin, and Lisa Rinna's daughter. And I just cannot wait for Lisa to sit at her first dinner or lunch with the ladies. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. We saw them in their glam shots. They're doing their green screen, like their taglines, and they all look really gorgeous. Lisa Rinna is wearing a gorgeous yellow dress, but I just want to see her at a luncheon, or maybe it'll just be at someone's house because we don't have our restaurants open. But she'll say something like, yeah, you know what? Amelia is dating Scott Disick. Yeah. And, always been really close to Kris Jenner, and I am, I'm happy. She's owning it. She's dating an older guy. She's over 18. I don't get why everyone's giving me crap about it. Harry fucking Hamlin's not happy. Lois is not happy, but I am happy for her. She's happy. And Amelia's been through a lot. So let her be with Scott Disick. Let her help babysit Courtney's kids when she's out with Travis Barker. I can't keep track. The Bachelor. We're down to just 4 girls this last episode, and he wore the skinniest jeans I've ever seen. All 4, I report, all 4 did a toddler jump when they met him. The final toddler jump was with the tiniest girl ever. She is so tiny. Now, I don't know how tall he is. I think he's at least 6'5". I don't think he's 6'7". I think he's 6'5". He's tall and lean, very good looking. Every girl toddler jumped him. Now, this girl is extremely tiny. And, I know that he was concerned, being the first Black Bachelor, that if he didn't choose someone, that whatever side would go, you didn't choose a woman of color. I go by talls and smalls. I'm a tall, okay? I don't love it when smalls end up with tall men, because I feel like they're, like there's only so many talls. This girl was very small. She said, forget it. She said, I'm out. you actually aren't my person. You might just be too tall. And I want to do the Christian thing and leave you for some of the other tall girls, because this girl is my favorite. She is Michelle. She has the best body. She's a teacher. She has these, I think she might be an only child because the parents are just like totally doting on her. And she's just gorgeous. And she is the most into Matt of all of them. And she came late in the game. She was one of those girls that came at the end. And she's a teacher. So on her date, she brought him into a Zoom classroom, and all the kids are like 6. And they're like, "Hi, Miss Michelle." And they're like, And I'm like, do you imagine just telling your kid, like, "Okay, remember your teacher from last year? Yeah, where is she? Why isn't she in our Zoom, Mommy?" Well, she's one of 28 women dating the Bachelor, and she's hoping to win in the end and get a husband out of it and probably not teach anymore, just probably be an influencer. So would you like to go on this Zoom and ask Bachelor Matt how many girls he's made out with? The little kids are like, "How many girlfriends do you have, Matt?" And he's like, The other thing about Matt is he laughs really hard at things that aren't funny, no matter what. Like the girl shows up in a car, just a car, and he's like, "You're driving a car. You kill me. You kill me. We have the greatest relationship. Let me hug you from behind and let me rub my hand slowly." Okay, so she's my favorite, and she's a tall. So they look amazing together. All these girls are pretty, but they're all brunettes. Another thing I kind of appreciate. The other girl here, she has a really nice mom. That's the one whose mom had her at like 13. And so she's got a new baby and she's like 35. And then we have the girl, Rachel, who is in all the heat for going to the sorority party that, wasn't right. So they're all excited because they get there for the rose ceremony, and there's only 3 roses because they knew one was going to get the boot because there's only 3 fantasy suites. And he comes out and he's like, "Yes." The other girl left. And this girl, Michelle, could not stop smiling. Like whenever they come and take the suitcase or whatever, they're always like, "Oh!" I mean, you got to be happy. That's like one less person you have to deal with. So they're trying to act like, "Oh," because he's sad. He really liked the tiny girl the most. And Michelle is like she's so happy. She's like, "Get me to that fantasy suite and then get me my husband," which tells me that she is down to bone and that she's pretty confident in her skills, because now it's just a boning contest. Now it's who can bone him the best that he's going to go, "Yeah, that's the bone I want more of, and I'm going to put a ring on it." I can't wait. Okay, you guys, greatest, most pornographic, dirtiest, sexiest episode in Housewives history. I mean, there was a time we'd see maybe a housewife here or there make out with someone, nothing like what we saw on Real Housewives of Atlanta. They have a bachelorette party, and I'm going to get into it with my detective Jim McSorley. He's going to tell me what he thinks, who slept with Bolo the stripper. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the girls had a bachelorette party, and they started making out with each other, rubbing each other, putting feathers on each other's clit. They put a vibrator in this one girl's underwear and they're controlling it. They put another girl in a swing. I mean, I've been to some bachelorette parties. Never were we getting hot for each other. And all I could think about is the roles were reversed. And you found out that your husband went to a bachelor party and they all just started blowing each other. And then a few of them slept with the female stripper. But mostly they got off on each other. Do you imagine how weird that would be? I'm just kind of blown away, like how happily bisexual these girls were. I'm like, God, you really don't need guys. Like normally when you're on a girls trip, you're like, "Oh my God, another night at home. Can't we just go to the bar? I'd like to, give out my number, meet someone." Like Ramona wants to leave the house. Ramona wants to go, "You know what? I really want to go to the bar. I heard this guy is really hot. He owns the crab restaurant. And it's kind of like, that's kind of my type. I kind of like entrepreneurs that own restaurants." Like she's out to meet some guys. These girls were like, who cares about the guys? Let's put on our sluttiest outfits and rub each other's out. Like, let's just eat each other out. I mean, some of the lines that were said in this thing, I was just dying. The guy is wearing this crazy outfit. He has a huge penis, Bolo. They have video of LaToya making out with Portia. Then they have Bolo and the other girl, Drew, doing something, and they're writing it. And then Bolo says to one of the girls, which the audio picked up, even though they said the cameras were gone, they said, "As long as I got a face, you always got somewhere to sit. So Bolo is also a poet. They did a diagram of the house, of where everyone was going, what was happening. That was amazing. And it's a mystery, which why I was so lucky to have this LAPD, and he also worked for New York City detective on it. So we cover it all, and here we go. Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. I've got a really juicy one for you. I've got Detective Jim McSorley from, he's an LAPD detective. And we just found out you also did time, not time like prison, but you also worked with the New York Department
Oh, no,
of
you're
Police.
pretty close. It was like doing time.
Okay, I want to hear all
was
about
rough.
that. You guys might recognize him if you're watching this on YouTube from the Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel, which we're still obsessed with. We actually talked to Dr. Judy Ho last week.
Yes.
Which was cool. But now I have like lots of, and so do the Juicy Scoopers, lots of just general questions about that case, but about being a detective in general, because we're all obsessed with true crime here at Juicy Scoop. And I put it out on my Facebook page, and I got a lot of great questions, and then just a lot of horny Juicy Scooper questions.
That's the world we live in right now. Just let it go. Just let it
Asking
flow.
about you, your status. You are divorced, which is something very common with cops.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was all my fault. I'll take ownership. I was a terrible human being, like most of the guys in profession, where we just overworked, drinking, high stress environments, neglecting family, not paying enough attention, and just all the stereotypes are there for a reason.
Yeah,
because it's true. But with that, I grew tremendously after that. If I remarried,
yes,
and it would be a completely different scenario. But I was very young, very dumb, and it's just one of those experiences that you go through that it's hell, but you come out better for it. So we still keep in contact every couple of weeks, text, meet up for coffee every now and then. So
with your ex?
Yeah.
Do you guys have kids?
No kids.
Okay.
Came out, completely amicable.
Okay,
and,
good.
Better
That's
for
nice.
it, I think, probably on both sides of the plate. So
Was she a nurse?
No. Well, she was in the medical field, though.
Okay, because my mom would tell me as a child, this is why I'm a Juicy Scooper the way I am, because my mom, as the youngest of 5, would tell me stuff completely inappropriate for my age. And I would watch, detective shows and all that stuff as a child. But she said, cops always marry nurses because of their weird schedules, and they meet them in the hospital when they're like bringing in, some. And
Yes,
she goes,
very true.
But they get divorced a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
So she was right.
Yeah, it's probably about a 50% divorce rate, which is, I guess it's the nation standard, I think, is maybe about 40 or 50%.
Yeah, so it's not that.
But yeah, so we'll see how round 2 goes.
Well, good. Well, you're okay. Well, we're happy to have you here.
Yes, I'm happy to be here.
Okay, one of the things I want to, so let's first just talk about a few of the questions for the Cecil Hotel. Then I want to get into your life. Okay, so you were one of the detectives on that, and we're watching it, the documentary about how this girl checked into this hotel under the guise that it was a safe place for a 21-year-old girl from Toronto to travel by herself. And obviously it wasn't. And so when you first got the call, they said originally there was 14 of you on it. And then this awful tragedy happened where this guy lost his mind and was going around. And I remember that story and targeting police officers. But still 4 remained. How does that work that one case gets so much attention and then other ones, someone is at the police department begging for someone to look for their child? How does that work?
Well, the thing is, the police department has to triage what's coming down the pipeline. Mm-hmm. So we're constantly, it's plugging a dam. We're sticking our thumbs in all the holes that are popping up. And every day in a major city, you have major problems.
Okay.
So that was a big one that day or that week. And just to clarify, that wasn't my case. Mm-hmm. That was someone else's, actually a friend of mine, really great guy. And so I wasn't a part of that initial investigation or any of it. I was brought on to the documentary to give the street side of it, because I've worked narcotics and different assignments. Hunting down fugitives, working a patrol angle of it. Back then I was working counterterrorism. So it was a different flavor of what was going on in the police department. So it's all hands on deck for something like that. But then you have something where the Christopher Dorner incident that they talked about, and then the focus goes there because we're so strapped for resources and people that we just don't have the time to devote. Throw 20 detectives here, throw 50 there. If we had it, we'd love to do that, but we just don't have that time or resources. So unfortunately, that's how things kind of get mitigated.
And I also find it interesting how, how in LA, and I've grown up here my whole life, how there'll be a story, like, I don't know if you remember this story or if you were here in New York at the time, but there was this, blonde Raiderette cheerleader that went missing. And she did a modeling shoot for, laying on a car, driving a car for, one of those car magazine things. In the end, it turned out that photographer killed her, but she went missing. Okay. And I'm telling you, this story was on hard copy every night. I mean, because she was pretty. She had pretty friends that would talk about how great she was. They overly showed the photo of them cheerleading at the Raider games, and you're like, okay, I mean, that's a very tragic story. That's sad. But then, I feel like, I guess the media chooses, just like I choose what I think is my audience is going to be more intrigued by. And then those things, because it gets a lot of media attention, do those big media stories get more attention from the actual police trying to find the killer?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's where this case was. It got media attention, and usually anything that's high profile goes to a division called Robbery Homicide Division. So those are the guys that handled, your O.J. Simpson, Robert Blake, all the celebrity cases. Yeah. So they have the extra manpower to deal with things that at a regular police station, one or two guys can't handle. And so they get thrusted, all those investigations. So, with anything that's media driven, you got City Hall on your back, you have all different, community leaders and, national attention, international attention. So obviously that's very important to the city's image and the police departments as well. So. Right.
And has there ever been a detective that, is a little fame hungry and they might want to jump on some celebrity case more because they want to get on Juicy Scoop or do something, have bigger aspirations, just like, a DA that wants to be a governor or whatever? Does that how have you seen it? Has anyone ever been I think this guy's, on The Bachelor, they say, I don't think you're here for the right reasons. Are there some detectives sometimes going after someone, maybe not for the right reasons?
Going after someone?
Overly, digging in places that if it was just a normal person, right, and someone said, hey, I think there's something shady here, check it out, and it's just some Joe Schmo, it would be at the bottom of the pile, but because it's somebody that might then get their name as a detective or a DA in the paper that, then actually gets a ton more attention.
Yes, yeah, I've seen that happen. Those guys are usually the outliers. The majority of the guys there are there for the right reason. And right. The guys work in homicide, especially the guys and girls, extremely all in on these cases. Yeah. With the victim's family comes first and foremost, and everything else surrounding that. So they're so emotionally invested, but for the right reasons. But yeah, you're always going to have those guys there was one for the bling ring. Yes. Where someone, one of the guys investigating that kind of might have got too big for his britches. In the press it said, and this is not my opinion, but just things that are out there in the public domain. Right. And then ended up getting jammed up by the police department and the DA's office, and then had to take a walk from, and move on.
Oh, it couldn't be a cop anymore.
Yeah. So I mean, it does happen. I mean, we're just human like everyone else. But the things that I've been trying to focus in on via podcasts and appearances like this. We've been getting so much negative attention in the press, so I just try to be, a little small granular voice for the right reasons, and be a voice for the young son that are working overtime right now on these homicide cases and high-profile things that don't have the luxury like I do. I start at 5 a.m. and I'm home by 3:30.
Because you have the good shift.
Yeah, I have a great shift with a really good assignment. We chase down fugitives throughout the city of LA and the county and what have you. So
you get the juicy stuff.
Yeah, that's no pun intended. So I think I divide my career into kind of two things. Is the first part of my career was chasing down as many bad guys as possible, terrorists, drug dealers, gang members, pedophiles, what have you. And then the second part of my career was taking all that experience and dumping that into the next generation and supervising and mentoring the next wave of policemen that are coming into the ranks. And then, and as well as trying to educate the public in things like this. So
yeah, I mean, in all the negative publicity and negative feelings that the police departments across the country have suffered from this past year, and it's people reminding, no, there's good cops and there's bad cops, and there always has been. But a concern of mine is like what young people are going to want to be a police officer, and we need them. And so there's got to be some encouragement and some hope that this is still a great career, and you can do great things for your city and the country. So that's cool. Okay, let me just ask some questions about the Cecil, then we'll get back to just general questions. Now, one of the things in the documentary was they originally said, the cop, when he was asked on camera, he said that, we know that she was found in the water tank. She's found in the water tank, this girl who went missing at the hotel, Elisa. And when they looked in there, they said that it in fact was covered. That's what the police officers were told. But then at the end, we find out that when asked the maintenance man again, he's like, no, actually, it was open. And that helped with the, watching it as someone at home, because you were like, but who shut it,
Right.
So they did a lot of suspense in that 4-part thing as a director. That was like, some people are a little annoyed. Like, it could have been 30 minutes. Like, I could have done a Friday Dateline and been good, and,
Yes.
But, so like, when that happens and it comes out in the press, it's that the detective actually misspoke, or the cop, or whatever.
Right.
Like, what ramifications, or none, because we are not here to, the press is, you don't have to tell the press everything, right?
Right. It's finding that balance between, informing and then over-informing, or, getting really into the weeds. And a big case like that, our spokesman at the time was Andy Smith, a good friend of mine, great guy, but he's not involved in the case. He's just a spokesperson. So he's speaking to the investigating officer and his supervisor, and getting, a whole bunch of tidbits of what's going on. And then, and then he'll fill in the blanks. So, one little word like that was open to close changes the dynamics completely in people's mind. And a slip of the tongue, was it closed? Yeah, it was closed. And then, he's not thinking about that.
Yeah.
And, as we go down the road, how important those details are, but we're just human.
Right.
He's doing, 10 press conferences that day and then speaking. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to make mistakes on this. And just at the end of the day, we've got to understand we're human, and the conspiracy could be a mistake.
Right.
It usually is.
And there were so many conspiracy theories, and I liked seeing the internet sleuths. Some people go, oh my God, the police officers must hate them and everything. But there was another really great documentary, Don't Fuck with Cats. Did you see that one?
Of course.
And without them, nobody would have found this person.
Correct.
So I'm like, how do detectives and stuff feel about information that's coming from, all these internet detectives that find clues and put them out on blogs and put them out on YouTube and stuff like that?
It's really good, but it could be overwhelming, especially in a high-profile case where we have, tip line open and we have cops answering. We call them the clue clowns, because they're taking down all the clues and then finding out, triaging them, what's legit, what sounds crazy, what's viable.
Right.
So you just overwhelmed with that, and that's just like phone calls. So the stuff on the internet, emails and what have you, tweets, I mean, it just goes on and on.
Yes.
It's very tough to, sift through that. But when I first became a detective in 2009 in West LA, we had a lot of high-functioning individuals, very high IQ people that were victims of crimes. And, my desk is just stacked with, paperwork of trying to, move cases here and there. And I would get a lot of people that were doing their own investigations, and it was great. I mean, it was stuff I didn't have the ability to do. Like, it's not like in the movies where we have analysts and all these helpers, and you
Yeah.
submit fingerprints and it's back in 24 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more like 24 months. So if
Yes.
anyone can help us, great. I'm all for it. But the blowback on that is it could be overwhelming, and then it could twist your case in the press, or everything's social media driven in the wrong way.
Right.
Which we were getting a lot of that.
So if someone is a victim of a crime, sometimes it's murder, but I do a lot of women being like duped by con men.
Like Dear John type
Dear
stuff.
Johns,
Yeah.
and a common thing is that in all these different cities and things that we've seen, that to them, the people that they go to please help us, we're 4 women, we were screwed out of this amount of money. It's not a priority because they're like, oh, most of them are men, and they're like, whatever, you picked the wrong loser, and sorry, but no one was murdered, so I'm going to put that at the bottom of the thing. And so that causes women to get together or hire a detective, and not a private detective.
Yep.
So how do you feel about that if you don't feel like you can get the attention for your case at your local department and you can afford to hire a private PI? Is that something that you would recommend?
Absolutely. I mean, you have to take ownership of your situation. It's no one's going to feel greater about your case than you. So you have to be your own advocate
Right.
in anything in life. Your own self-promoter, your own first responder, first aid, whatever that you could do to benefit yourself, protect yourself at all times, like in martial arts and boxing. And please do that because hopefully you get matched up with a good detective, but they're only going to have so much time to deal
Right.
with your case. So cases that are supposedly, low importance, I try to teach my detectives that this person might be the only time they've ever been a victim of crime. So this is the equivalent of of rape or someone getting murdered. In their mind, they're going through a crisis, which is extremely huge. And for you, it's nothing, but for them, it's everything. So
Right.
take the time, be empathetic, respond back within the day, and try to be timely, and then be honest too. Say, hey, your case is very important to me, but this is the reality of what I'm dealing with on my end. I'm going to put everything I can when I can on your case, but it might be a couple days, a week, or whatever.
Yeah.
The results are going to be, and just educate them on what we do. And then that's part of what I'm doing here, is trying to shed that layer of the
Right.
mystique, behind the curtain of what the police department is and who's working there. So, but yeah, hire a PI, do your own legwork, and then you bring it to me. I'll see what works and what doesn't. It's we do it together.
Yeah.
And I'm all for it.
And with a real high profile case, okay? Now, I'm not saying you have to speak on this, but Army Hammer has come out as accountable, and there's a lot of suspicious stuff around a couple people missing. And then they came out, supposedly the Sun reported, he is not a suspect in these cases, what does that really mean? Do you really have to be honest in a statement like that? Or can you say, right now we're not actively pursuing them, but it doesn't mean that that you're gonna ignore anything that comes in.
Right. And as a good investigator, you don't want to be have tunnel vision, and you have
Right.
to lay everything out on the table. Everything's a possibility.
Right.
And even when you think, this is it, still keep in your mind that
Right.
it's a possibility. Don't get locked in.
So when someone goes, the police said he's not a suspect, that's it. He's off the hook. And I'm like, no, he's not off the hook. I mean, we've all seen when a Dateline or something where the husband, they go, he's not a suspect,
Right.
and then 6 months later he's arrested, and then, later goes to court and it's proven that he is, because they don't want to either scare that person. They
Tip
want,
your hand.
yes, they want to think that he's gonna, hey buddy, can you come over one more time and talk to me, So I just found that interesting, because when that came out and everybody was like, there's nothing to it. I go, look, there might be nothing to it, but we've all seen in cases where they tell the press no because they don't want them to blow it for them. Like when we were
Right.
watching the Night Stalker Netflix thing, they they had to basically bargain with that reporter. Please don't report about the shoe print, because that'll alert our murderer,
Yeah,
to
there's certain
change his
signatures.
shoes. Yeah.
Yeah, there's certain signatures that they call them holdbacks.
Right.
You want to hold back certain details, so when quacks do come in and I want to confess, and then you could say, okay, tell us what you were wearing or whatever. Like in that
Yes.
instance, walk us through your day, and then you see those details and you could weed them out automatically.
Right.
So if you put those details out to the public, they're going to pick up on that.
Yeah.
They're going to use that against you. So, all these terms, person of interest, suspect, and all that. Yeah. I mean, they're tools. So if you hold back on that, that's a tool.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to get a pattern of life on somebody and ease their anxiety and let them go back to their everyday motions, that could be a tool as well. So see who they associate with. If someone's a suspect, then all of a sudden they're going to be guarded. They're going to have a lawyer on retainer. If anyone comes to speak to them, they're going to change their patterns and, hide what their true self is. So yeah, you're on the right point.
And with in the Cecil Hotel case, now we know as far as Dr. Judy Ho and pretty much the conclusion of the 4-part documentary is that she had a mental issue and she stopped taking her meds and probably had a psychotic break and maybe had some delusions, thought someone was chasing her, climbed up the water tank and maybe got in there to be like, I hope no one's following me, and then realized, oh my God, I can't get out, which is just so sad. And that's what I think happened. Now, someone was saying, how hard is it to climb up and get into a tank? Like, do you think she just was like thinking she could swim, or like, it seems like that would be difficult.
I've seen it before. I've
Okay.
witnessed it firsthand of when people are in having a mental episode and a breakdown. It's like a kid hiding under the covers.
Oh, okay.
So that's a form of hiding. So I've been up on a roof not too far from there. We used to do observation posts, working narcotics, viewing people on the street, doing hand-to-hands. And so, yeah, that water tower, it's pretty easy to get up there. And to go into that, into the water, and then as the water is fluctuating, as people are using it throughout the day or night, and, it's your senses and motory skills are different when you're altered on drugs or having some kind of mental episode. And so you don't have the fine mechanical skills to perform certain events. So you could easily drown. I had someone just tell me the other day they had COVID and they were, having those after effects of it. And they were kind of in the bathtub and they were kind of just, like hallucinating, and it was slowly like drifting under the water. And
Oh my God, yeah.
Their husband had to come in and practically save them. So you're just not aware of certain things when you're experiencing psychotic events. So
Yeah.
it's strange because no one's really even knows what a water tower is unless you've been up there.
Yeah, I didn't even
So
know. I was like,
It's a foreign concept.
and does every building? No, not every. Only like certain buildings or old buildings have a water tank thing, right?
Yeah, there's in the back, water, like the water tanks in a home, and it's just it's people wrapping their head around things that they're not sure of, and then it's also a part of pattern recognition of woman in a strange town, she probably met some guy, she
Right.
in a high drug area, so she did drugs, and then there's all these killers around there,
Yeah.
so she got killed. We put these things together because we've seen it over and over again. So when you're presented with facts that don't fit that narrative, you're like, nope, can't be. It's a conspiracy.
Right.
They're covering up something. It's not that.
Well, when they were saying, "Oh, I think they're covering up something," they're in cahoots with the hotel. I'm like, this isn't the Beverly Wilshire, and even the Beverly Wilshire, or it was the Beverly Hilton. Poor Whitney Houston was, found in her bathtub. I'm like, they didn't try to protect that place. So I'm like, why? That I thought was like, no, this isn't who gets protected, the Cecil Hotel. Like, are you
Right.
kidding me? Like, oh no, we want to keep this place banging. No, it's
Yeah, it's a flop house.
yeah. I mean, and I just thought it was so weird that the manager was just this like, I'm okay dealing with gross people and scary people. I'm all right with it. I can go home and be fine. Like, to me, I can't imagine, but I can't imagine doing your job. I can't imagine being a nurse. Like, I can't imagine all that stuff to me is like, oh. So for me, it was just hard just to see someone who looked and appeared like me dealing with these crazy people. But I guess she just was like, I mean,
Yeah.
did you ever have any contact with her?
I don't remember her. I mean,
Yeah.
we come in contact with so many people up
Right.
and down that street. There's so many of those type of hotels. I mean, that's just not, they're not the outlier.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
there's many of them. It's just that there's 700 rooms in there. So you're going to have 700 problems.
Yes.
So it's just magnified. Other places are smaller. So that place was kind of, like the the focal point of madness.
Is it still open right now?
No, it hasn't. I've heard some rumors there. There's some rooms in there that people might be, the city might be housing homeless people in there, a few of them. But I'm down there all the time. I haven't seen anyone, so who knows?
Oh, God.
But I'm sure, someone crafty is going to come around and rebrand that, and now they could make it into like an amusement park or something, of crime. Who knows?
God, I don't know. I can't imagine. Because I went to USC, so when I was there between 88 and 92 and the riots and all that. And, I learned right from the start, like I didn't walk by myself. That was just to go from our sorority house to a class. They had this USC escort service. They were the first school, I think, to have something like that back then. Now all schools have it.
There was male escorts that would date you guys?
No, it was like little cops.
Oh, okay.
Like cop light. Yes. And that they were like,
that's real juicy scoop
but
right there.
Yeah, like an armed guard that drove a car would then pick you up and take you anywhere, and you would just call and or pick up these phones all over because we didn't have cell phones. And so it always just kind of taught me to be hyper aware of my surroundings, because I did go to a school that was like in a crime-ridden area, so it was just. And there'd be a few times where I'd be like going shopping and I'd end up and see Skid Row, and I was like, oh my God, terrified. Sadly now it's kind of everywhere, but let's not get into that.
Yes.
Let's get into more
another,
juicy. That's a whole nother thing.
Absolutely.
Okay, a couple of people asked, what about the girls in the room that she shared? I feel like it would have been so interesting if we had actually heard from one of them, like what the strange stuff that she was doing. And again, I don't really blame the manager, because she's like, oh, I deal with strange people all the time, thinking.
Part of it's a hostel. So, that's short for hostile, I say.
Yeah.
So you're going to be dealing with, people that are acting hostile.
Yeah.
So we've seen the movie, what goes on there, and it's for real.
And for the same thing they said, this kind of bugged me because I would have wanted to know this, though. But they said, she went to a taping of a TV show and she wrote the host a really weird letter. And so then they removed her. And I thought, I bet they're not telling us what show that was to kind of protect the show and anybody else. Because, of course, people would be like, why didn't the Tonight Show, do what they could with this person? And it's like, well, everybody that's just weird I worked on a show with a live audience. And if someone was weird, you just said, yeah, we're not, just leave. We're not calling the police department and all this kind of stuff. And but I think that's one of the reasons why we didn't find it. But that's a thing, like maybe no one saved that letter. But it would have been interesting, even if they blocked out someone's face, to have said what the letter said. Like,
right. Yeah,
there were some of those things. I was just like, I want to know what she was saying. Was she in love with the
show?
girl or guy? Like, what was it? I think it was the Tonight Show. Just as a detective, it was Burbank. There weren't that many live shows, live tape, with an audience.
So with Jay, you're saying?
I think it was with Jay, but it could have been Burbank, though. It could have, they said the host, so it wasn't a sitcom.
Right.
And at that time, I think the only talk show like that in Burbank was. So I'll have Jay Leno in here next. I'm sure he wasn't even made aware that there was a weird note. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to be like, hey, there's this girl from Toronto. She's freaking out, thinks you're her father. And they're just like, hey, goodbye.
Yeah, fan mail and letters and telephone calls. That's just every day in show business, I'm sure, right? I'm sure you've had your share of stalkers and weirdos. And
I have a weirdo on my personal Facebook page that's been writing me for years. And he's just like, and some people write me and they're like, I'm concerned about this guy, because he just writes the same thing all the time. Like, it's not even original. It's like, I like your hair when you wear it like that. I'm like, well, it's been this way forever, but whatever. And I can tell he doesn't live that far from me. But I think someone like that hasn't done anything weird, if I was to block them, that might make them weird.
You want to be aware of the escalation or de-escalation of what they're saying. And
then sometimes they do lose interest. Mm-hmm. They find somebody else that they're into. And you're like, oh, okay.
Well, they're trying to get a rise out of you.
Yeah.
So that's like on Twitter of, deplatforming people, or, you're like, we want to know what these people are thinking to gauge it. Like, why would you want to hide it and not know about it? That's worse. And then when it comes to attack you or something like that, then you're out of luck now.
Right.
So you want to monitor that. So yeah, I'm with you on that tactic.
In moderating all that stuff online and everything, people go, I don't like that, I was talking about getting wide-legged pants with my girlfriend, and then when I got in my car, I had 5 ads for wide-legged pants. My phone is listening,
Mm-hmm. Smartphone, right?
I
Smartphone's dumb user.
Yeah. But I'm like, I don't care because I'm not a pedophile and I'm not a terrorist.
Right.
So what do I care? But it does sometimes make me go, what is the next step? Like, could someone say, I actually heard Heather having a private conversation on her phone with her girlfriend about something besides wide-legged pants, like whatever.
Right.
That could be a controversial statement that if I put it on Twitter, I would be canceled. But if I said it to someone in my room, like, how do you feel about that? And do you get I mean, is that where people are getting information as far as who's on these weird sites and stuff?
Well, I'm not talking out of school or anything, but it's out there in the open source environment. I mean, the phone's a microphone. It could be turned on without your permission.
Right.
So yeah, basically you're walking around with it could be a diary of everything that you're doing and where you're going and saying. So it's kind of like what's the thing the Amazon thing where Alexa,
yeah,
where someone's talking and that translated into a text and sent it to the last person that they spoke to. So they're like, oh, I just did this freaking podcast with Heather. She's crazy, and she was making me drink out of a freaking pink straw. Oh my God, it was the worst experience ever. And boom, and you get that. So that could have huge ramifications depending on who's receiving that.
Yes.
And where it goes on Twitter, and then all of a sudden, gone. Your career's gone. You get canceled. So
yeah,
I mean, it's very concerning. And
right.
They should have, the government and the private entities, they do have a lot of control, and they should be disclosing those things.
Yeah.
I'm all for, the Constitution as far as protecting us from the government, and I'm a part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, and so I tell people, it's like, hey, you don't have to cooperate. These are your rights, and
yes,
protect yourself at all times. Like it goes back to what I said earlier. In regard to martial arts, protect yourself by learning what that device is and what it can do. So, and the ramifications of your words, and that'll make you a better person and a better human being if you're not talking shit about people.
Yeah.
So for the record, I'm having a great time.
So do we turn
I like
off
drinking
our
out
phone?
of a pink...
So you have to turn off your phone, or don't keep it in the room when you're about to give a real juicy conversation with someone.
I would take that advice.
Okay. And now you said, so you came from New York because we hear your accent, which is amazing how some New York people, the accent comes and goes. Like with my dad, he lost it right away. And then I'd be like, Dad, this, or then we'd meet some guy who's 80 who came from Brooklyn at 17 to Calabasas. And it's the strongest. So you came here first. Now you moved out here from New York. Why?
I was always enamored by the West Coast culture.
Okay.
When I was in the 5th grade, I read the book Helter Skelter, written by the DA who prosecuted Manson.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's
there's 2 ways to look at it. If you're your mom, and you're like, he's reading Helter Skelter. He's either going to be a great detective, or he's going to be a crazy person. Yeah.
Yes. Well, when you were talking about your mom and all that, and I was thinking, my mom. I think one day I played hooky.
Yeah.
And she wanted to play hooky. She's like, I'm not going to work. Let's go to the movies. And I think we saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And, it might have been 7th grade or whatever. And I thought it was the greatest thing ever. I'm like, wow, this is a crazy movie, man. And that's how I was always raised, as only child. So they didn't treat me as a kid.
Yes.
Really. So I was brought up in a mature environment.
Interesting. Yeah.
So for me to read Helter Skelter, no big thing,
no
factor. And so, but when I did the book report on it and did an addenda with a diagram of one of the weapons used in one of the crimes by Charles Tex Watson, my 5th grade teacher. Shout out to Mr. Alcabes, great guy. He's like, wow, this is kind of interesting material. He's like, you read this book? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, why? I said, I saw it at the library, and books are like my medicine. There's just music and books, and I loved it. And I just said, I just found it fascinating. So that took me down to, Manson had a lot of musical elements within it, Beach Boys and what have you. And everything happens on the West Coast and travels east. In my opinion, anyway, as far as trends, whether good or bad. So
you came out here in 96, and right then is when you enter the academy? Or?
Yeah, I came out here a week before the academy. No car, 2 suitcases, 2 cats. and a guitar. That was it. Living kind of like by downtown LA in a furnished apartment. So
Okay.
yeah.
And then when you become a cop, then you're like in the cop car with a partner doing all this stuff. And then how do you then graduate to be the detective?
That was always my path.
Okay.
When I was younger, going back to pop culture and movies and all that, my old man took me to see The French Connection with Gene Hackman, and he was a plainclothes narcotics cop.
Yeah.
Running around the cities in a citywide unit, chasing bad guys, drinking, having fun, womanizing, all that. So I was like, that's what I want to do. So that was always my goal, to be a plainclothes detective, which I am now.
Okay.
And everything that
So
came
that's
with it.
just like the suit, and then you just show that you have your badge like off to the side.
Yeah. Or
Okay.
back then they wore suits and work in narcotics, but now it's just you work like this, whatever, t-shirts and pants and what have you, facial hair.
So you're
There's a little
sort
bit
of have you ever done hardcore what do you call it? Under where you're pretending to be, what do you call that?
Yeah, undercover. Yeah,
Undercover.
works.
So have you ever like done that for a really long time, where you had to like act like a gang member or something?
We're not a long time, but yeah, maybe a year working Vice, and operating pimps and
Yes.
prostitutes and
I always said if I was going to be a cop, I wanted to be the Vice hooker cop. Hookers. Back when hookers could walk the streets.
oh, they're
Yeah,
still out there. But
they are? Well,
yeah,
I
they're
feel
not
like-
lookers though. It's not like Pretty
Yeah,
Woman.
that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a undercover lady police officer, where I just could wear really slutty outfits, but I'm not a hooker.
Yes.
I just like the outfits.
Yes.
Back in the Pretty Woman days, where even then she was too pretty to be, but still.
Right.
But walk, and then but then also it would have been fun to also do try to get Heidi Fleiss. Did you deal with Heidi Fleiss?
I
at
met
all?
Heidi Fleiss in
Yes.
Hollywood, in an alley. I thought she was doing drugs or something, so I was driving
probably
down the
was.
alley.
Yeah.
But she had a store on Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh,
like
this
a
is after
lingerie
she
store.
was caught.
Yes,
when she
yes.
had the Heidi sweats.
Yeah.
Trying to make her money before she went to prison. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
that would be fun to be a vice cop, but a high class hooker.
Right.
And then I just go to meals, dinners.
Spago and all that.
Yeah. Yes. And then just try to then entrap the guy or whatever.
Right.
But now those things you don't really follow. There's so many hooker lights and I call hooker lights sugar babies and stuff like that. That's
You
not.
call that Instagram, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that
I mean that's not.
seems like every
we're
girl
not
on there is
wasting our
like-
time on that anymore.
She has no job, but she's going to Aruba and all these
Yeah.
places everywhere. What's that about? Yeah.
She's smart.
I'm not hating. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
do it. I wish I could do it and pull it off. Yeah.
Okay, so then you were here for a while. You said and doing that, and then you said you went to New York.
Yeah, I
to
went
be with
back
your
to-
wife's family.
Yeah.
And so then do you have to? Is it like when you are like a lawyer where you have to take another test to pass the bar, or you can get right in there?
Oh, it was right back to day one, being treated like a recruit like everybody else.
Oh, really?
I wish it could have been like an abbreviated academy. But no, you treated like everyone else. And
I could imagine if we were doing the movie of your life, which I plan on doing. There's a lot of, New York ball busting, Mr. California, and shit like
yes.
that.
Yeah, Nick.
I could write this
Hollywood.
movie.
Yeah, you got it already. Yeah.
They're just dicks to you.
Yeah, but at no
And then one guy's nice.
no Lifetime or Oxygen Network. It has to be something good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, we're doing
Vice or
HBO
something.
Max.
Yeah, HBO. Yes. All right, we're on board. Just to.
Okay, and then I want to say there's one guy that's nice who's like, hey, knock it off, assholes, or whatever.
Right.
And it's almost like you're being, back in the 7th grade and you're being bullied by.
Savior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so did that happen?
Without the savior, yeah, for the most part.
Oh,
But
nobody was
older-
nice?
No, everyone's good. I had some great classmates. I was
Okay.
a little bit older than everyone, so I
Okay.
was kind of mentoring those guys.
Okay.
And shedding the light on what's real and what's not, what to experience, what you're going to experience.
Okay.
What you could do. So. Yeah, I was kind of like a little bit of a bigger brother to them.
My biggest problem with every type of movie I've ever seen in the detective world is why don't they want help? Why are they all such dicks about their own case?
Ego. Plain and simple.
But why? If I'm trying to find the murderer and 20 FBI people go, Heather, we've got 20 FBI people on this because he's jumped states. We want to help you. If I'm a detective, I'd be like, get the fuck out of my office. And
Yes.
it's like, why?
Yes.
I'm all for help. So why?
Yeah.
Why don't you guys
you
help?
just got to be secure. There's the gun and the badge, or I got 25 years experience.
Yeah,
No
what
one
is-
that has 5 years on a job or that's a civilian can tell me what to do. And like I said, I'm open. If you got a good idea, I'll roll with it.
But have you ever had to try to tell another detective, like, dude, they want to help us. Why are you being such a dick?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and then it's plain and simple. It's just guys that have dicks. I mean,
Okay.
people like, oh, how do you deal with anti-police stuff? I'm like, I'm anti-police because I got to work with a lot of assholes. So,
Yeah.
we're no different than any other organization. We got some great guys. We got some idiots.
Yeah.
And then most of us are in between, just good guys. And then we could have a bad day and then it ends up on the news or
Right.
YouTube or whatever. But it's usually just ego of what does she know? She hosts a show with, with dolls and what have you. How's she going to know what I don't know? You're like,
Yeah.
well, women are very intuitive, and people that are outside the scope of our profession, they see things from a different perspective,
Right.
which is good.
I
And
mean,
you gotta promote that, enable that. So
I mean,
just
a
tell people,
woman-
just put it aside what you're thinking,
Yeah.
and just listen.
I mean, there are women that can meet a guy, not even meet him in person, find out all his Facebook friends, find out his ex-girlfriend, and know every single thing within 25 minutes.
Yes,
Why wouldn't you want that woman to help you?
and very intuitive. Women are very attention to detail.
Yeah.
And they're more in touch with their emotions, which makes them more in touch with the emotions that you're putting out.
Yeah.
So they're good listeners. They feel things differently. So always go with your gut, I tell people, especially females. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right. And get the hell out of there if you're feeling that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just...
And, okay, so when you have to, invite a suspect over for the styrofoam coffee, I'm guessing
worst coffee ever.
I'm guessing the coffee is awful. But
Horrible.
it always seems so nice when they're offering it to you, like when you see the cameras in the small room.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to do a little improv with you,
Sure.
okay? So my husband has been missing now for a week.
Congratulations.
Yes. He's been missing for a week. And, I didn't report it till recently. Just so his friends reported it. He went on a bike ride and, but throw in any suspicious things and just see if you can throw me. Okay. Cause you think I have something to do with it. And I'm going to see how well I can do as someone that I'm going to try to convince you that it's not me. Okay. Oh, thank you for this coffee, officer.
Oh, you're most welcome.
Oh my God. It's just been really hard. I don't even know what to tell my kids. I don't know where he is or what's happening.
Now, how long have you been married now?
20 years.
Okay. Are you still in love with your husband?
I mean, it's been 20 years. Yeah. I mean, we were actually, we've had some tough times, but this last couple weeks and actually more like these last few months have been really great. We've went on some trips during COVID and stuff, and it's been nice. Even though people give us some shit for it, I still had a nice time. We wore masks.
Okay.
Yeah.
When was your last big argument?
I'm actually so weird. I don't know why I'm laughing. I just think I'm nervous.
It's all right. Yeah, it's weird to
But
be questioned.
it was a little bit less the night before was the last night I saw him. Was that we were but it wasn't a big deal fight.
Right.
Yeah.
What's not a big deal fight for you? For me, could be hitting someone over the head with a
Oh,
bat.
no, nothing like that.
Yeah.
No, we've never been physical. I'd gotten my nails done, and I came home, and he said, wow, that was really long. Where are you driving so far to get your nails done? And I just got pissed because he had gone golfing. And I go, how long does it take you to golf? And so that was it, really. I left the room for a couple minutes, and then my son begged me to make him a frozen lasagna. I don't know why he can't work the microwave himself. He's about to go to college, but whatever. So I'm a good mother. So then I made the lasagna. And then the next morning, I woke up and he wasn't there. So I figured he'd gone for a bike ride or something. And then he just didn't come home. So I didn't know if he was mad about my nail comment, but I don't know.
So do you guys normally question each other on whereabouts?
No, not really. That's why it pissed me off but not pissed me off so much that I would ever,
Right.
you know. I mean, he's a huge person.
Right.
How am me? You know, I barely
Yes.
do Pilates, you know, and he's 6'3". He's a big guy. I mean, there's nothing. How would I be able to do something, you know, even if I wanted to?
So what?
And I have not wanted to.
So if he wasn't in the picture anymore, how would you feel about that?
Oh, that's so weird that I just smiled. I didn't mean to smile. Like, hi, I know there's cameras here. I would be really sad. I mean, we have a great life together as a family.
You don't seem too sad though. It's I don't know. I would feel, I'd be crying right now, but you seem a little bit.
Oh, I've been crying.
Have you?
I've been crying, but then I knew I was going to come here, and I know there's cameras, and so I did stop the crying, and I put on some makeup.
Have you talked to anyone else besides your family about how you're feeling and your past relationships with your husband? That I could talk to?
Well, I have a sister, but she's a criminal defense attorney, so I don't think she's going to be much of a help
she'll
to
hang
you.
up on me.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
But yeah, I mean, you know, that's why I'm here. I don't need an attorney. I don't
Right.
need to even call her because he's obviously just letting off some steam somewhere
Okay.
about, you know, the nails in the golf fight.
So usually those small little indicators indicate something bigger.
No, he's never left before this.
Okay.
Um,
Have you had any? When was your last indiscretion in the relationship?
Oh, I've never had any indiscretions.
Okay.
In 20 years, I've not.
Okay.
I've thought about
Before
it.
that?
What?
Before that? Before the 20 years?
Well, when I was single, yeah.
Okay.
And then after, no.
Okay.
And then, but I talk a lot about my fantasies if something was to happen to him.
Right.
And you can go and listen to the podcast and subscribe and leave a review.
And Patreon?
And the best stuff is on Patreon. So I don't know if you want to join that as a detective. I mean, go for it. But you're going to see, obviously, if I talk about it this much, I'm not going to then go do something.
Right. And if,
That's sort of, I mean, almost like a weird defense. Not that I planned it out, but
Right.
maybe I did.
and when you talk about these things, you generate a certain energy. And if you're associating with people, is there anyone maybe that you've associated with that you've talked about your fantasies and they might have wanted to help make that a reality?
You mean like
That you
Louis
might
at
have-
the tire shop?
Tell me about them.
Oh, he's just this guy, and I've just had a lot of tire problems, and I don't know. I mean, sure, you know, when you're getting your tire changed, and you just start talking to somebody and being like, oh, you know, my husband was such an asshole last night. You know, maybe I don't. Do you think Louis had something to do with it?
I'm just, brainstorming of things that I've seen.
I mean, he's
in the
over
past.
at Louis' Tire in Reseda. And the only reason I went all the way over to Reseda, even though there's closer places, is because I was out that way.
Right. What do you think about Louis as a person?
Well, I mean, he's done some time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He has lots of neck tattoos, which I think says something. I mean, if you're going to do a neck tattoo, I mean, you can't cover it up very easily. But I'm not prejudiced against tattoo people. I think they're some of the finest people. But, you know, I don't know. Do you think he's obsessed with me and killed my husband without me asking him to?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. Would
My God,
mind if
I
I looked-
hope that didn't happen.
if we spoke to Louis and looked through his phone, would we find anything that?
I don't think you need to look through his phone.
No.
I wouldn't. They're busy. A lot of there's a lot of nails in Reseda. So he's
Yes.
very busy, and I think he's I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't always have my phone with me,
Right.
you know, so there could be some weird fan that got my phone and started texting Louis behind my back.
But you're a
To try-
pretty open and honest person, so
Yeah, look at me.
you wouldn't
talking
mind
to
if we looked through your phone?
Actually, my husband has the code to my phone, so I haven't used it in a week.
Okay.
I don't even know anything. Do you think that maybe my husband has staged his own death to fuck me over?
I don't know. I haven't met him before, so
I think he's capable.
Everything's possible.
I think he's capable.
I think everyone's
Can I
capable.
have a real Starbucks now? Coffee is horrific.
It's
And-
it's burnt and it's been sitting there for 24 hours. So
I mean, when are you guys ever going to get a Keurig in the LAP department? Like, why does it have to be like a sad
we
Mr.
got
Coffee?
defunded.
Okay.
This is what I think happened. That's a possibility.
Really?
And it's not a good thing or a bad thing.
Okay.
It's just things that happen.
All right.
You're in a marriage.
Yeah.
It gets stale after a while.
Yeah.
I've been there. I understand.
Yeah.
I empathize.
Thanks.
You meet someone that's not in your usual scope of friends, and
Yeah.
they kind of pique your interest.
Yeah.
And
It's kinda
as
hot.
he becomes a confidant,
Yeah.
you release those desires and fantasies,
Yeah.
and you're open and honest like you normally are. And this person might have taken some of your words and run with it. And you might have confessed, consented to it maybe, without really knowing in your own mind, possibly. And something could have happened. Maybe you didn't want it to happen, and but just it did. So
Didn't want it to happen.
I could tell.
I didn't. Thank you. I didn't want it to happen. I told him, I'm like, he's still a good dad. And he just got us like solar panels and stuff. I wouldn't know how to get solar panels. I didn't want this to happen.
Good thing. You're good people that do some things that shouldn't have happened, but
And I told him.
I'm here to
I
listen
was
to
like,
you.
do not. And then he said, it's done. And I go, the tire? And he's like, no, the problem. And I'm like, the tire? Is that what he meant? Thank
All right.
you. Emmy award-winning Law and Order episode. If they need anyone new, they're always replacing those people. I have another thing I want to ask you before you go. I watch Real Housewives, and there is a...
What was your favorite season?
This last night, two nights ago episode, Sunday night, Atlanta, whatever season we're on.
Okay.
These women brought it. I basically watched a porno, okay?
Yes.
It was this one girl's bachelorette party. It's her third marriage. Second marriage to be filmed on TV, third ceremony because she did a renewal. Anyway.
It's a marriage license. You got to renew it, right?
Exactly.
Type of thing.
So
it expires.
Candy, her side business is selling dildos and vibrators and stuff. So she throws a bachelorette party for Cynthia. And she makes all the girls wear these dominatrix outfits. I mean, every girl has a G-string, full ass cheeks. I don't know how Bravo gets away with this, but you don't regulate television. All out like crazy. They put a vibrator in the bride's underwear, and then Candy's controlling it. Then they have this guy come named Bolo, who apparently has the biggest dick in all of Georgia, probably.
As someone named Bolo would, yeah.
And he shows up in this fake Chanel stripping outfit. Do you ever do anything on fake Chanel and fake stuff?
I thought Chanel was like a cologne or a perfume.
No,
or something.
Chanel, obviously not. Okay, there's a lot of counterfeit Gucci and Chanel
right,
going
right.
on, but
Okay.
you're not in charge of that. And if you did, I would like you to just leave me the number of the person you're investigating.
We'll slide it into
Okay.
your DMs.
So anyway, he's wearing some fake Chanel outfit. Who cares?
Okay.
But his dick is huge. They had to fuzz it out, even in his like spandex pants. Okay, and the
Legit.
girls are horny as shit, hornier than some of the juicy scoopers that went into your LinkedIn page. Okay.
Oh my God.
So, so they get there, and Kenya is this one girl, and she says she goes to bed because she's got a little baby. So she's got her baby on the trip. And the other girls, they kick out the producers, they cover the cameras, but the producers happen to have accidentally left some video and some audio there, okay? Because Bravo's super ethical. So anyway, they start to saying that these people were screwing here and here, and it sounds like some of the girls had full penetration with Bolo, okay?
So more than the tip.
More than a tip, more than like a dry hump,
Right.
more than just like dancing. I don't know. And so Kenya says she comes down to fill her bottle for her baby at 6 a.m. and she hears full-blown sex with two girls and Bolo. So
Right.
she thinks two of them had a threesome and screwed Bolo. But she stayed down there listening for almost 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've had kids. If your baby wants a bottle at 6 a.m., you got to get that bottle as quickly as possible.
Yes.
So, nobody's admitting to screwing Bolo, but Bolo left at 7 a.m. We saw it on this surveillance camera of him leaving at 7 a.m.
Was he dehydrated and rubber-legged?
He was dressed.
Okay.
And he looked okay. So who do you think did it? Portia, who was acting the most horny. Kenya, who's almost making such a big deal out of it. Like, what is that saying? Though who protests so much is like guilty or
Right.
whatever.
Thou protestest too much. Yeah.
Yes. What do you think? I just gave you the scenario. Do you think Kenya, Portia, or all of them screwed Bolo? And do you think they used a giant condom? Do you think they should have, what they should have
Condoms
done?
still a thing? They still have those out there?
Oh, you think, is that another thing you're investigating? People aren't using condoms?
I don't know. It just seems so retro.
I'm wondering why Kenya didn't go why didn't Kenya just go to the rooms and look in the toilets and the bathrooms and stuff and the waste baskets?
Yeah, the garbage cans, yeah.
Because you have to go do that as your job. You have to go
Unfortunately, yes.
in garbage and gather stuff.
Yes, especially work and vice, yeah.
So
we'd
in your opinion, is it sometimes the person that's obsessed with finding who did it that maybe actually did it?
the one who speaks the most sometimes is hiding the most. Sometimes. You can't get locked in on that, but yeah, whoever's barking the most has the most fear or trying to cover up with their actions by pointing the finger at someone else. So that's a real good possibility.
I think it's Kenya because the producers and editors did a real kind of clever thing. They had her in the Sharon Stone white dress.
Yes.
As what was that movie? What was that movie?
Basic Instinct.
Basic Instinct, yeah. And have you ever had someone do that? Flash their pussy while they're interviewing them just to distract you?
That happened once or twice, yeah.
Really? And you think they got that idea from the Sharon Stone movie?
100%.
So it never had happened prior to the Basic Instinct
Not
movie.
the actual, pussy flash, but yeah.
Well, in the end,
usually the cleavage thing and.
In the end, it was Sharon Stone, I believe. Well, we don't know. We don't know if she did it or not.
vague.
So I think that they kind of did that with Kenya. I think it's Kenya. I think that's the twist.
For ratings purposes, it should be all of them.
Well, it probably was. I mean, I've watched this now 3 times.
So
because I'm a detective.
When are you going to have Bolo in here now? Is he out the door?
God, I mean, I don't know. At first I was like, if this was a woman, would this really be anything fun to hear that 5 guys might have screwed one stripper? But, it's a different time, and it seems like Bolo is enjoying the attention. So I guess it's okay. Mm-hmm. But, if we were going to really be equal how we treat everybody, this probably isn't okay that we just exploited this man.
Right. We have to think of his feelings. He's a human being like everyone else.
Exactly.
But we like to have our own fantasies and think that he had his way with a lot of them.
So, Detective Jim, that's what I call you. Real delight. Thank you for answering all these questions. For the Juicy Scoopers who want to hear more from you, you have a great podcast called the Arm Bar Podcast. And
yes.
Where can they? I guess soon they can find it anywhere, like any podcast.
Yeah, iTunes, all that stuff.
And you cover what on that?
Like a 3-prong type of podcast about martial arts, law enforcement, and military. Kind of span that little space, but it's lighthearted like this. We interview authors that have some kind of nexus to that, and
cool.
People that into wellness and resiliency and what have you. So we keep it light, hence the bar aspect of it. Some of the guys might pop a couple of cold ones during it, and we'd like to have fun and keep it moving. So yeah, that's where you could reach me, and on social media too. It's my nickname @Knocko, KNOCKO, on Instagram and Twitter and all that good stuff. So if you have police-related questions or whatever about the documentary, or just want to BS, that's where you could find me and just have fun.
And do you think if my husband does ever go missing,
Mm-hmm.
do you think that this YouTube video will go into play for the Dateline?
I'll make it certain that it is because my friend works Dateline, Josh Mankiewicz, great
Oh,
guy.
he's my friend too. I've interviewed him too.
Awesome guy. So
One thing,
we'll feed that into
if I
him.
ever just go missing but I'm found,
Right.
one thing I would like is that I do like that they have a good editing place that could put all the photos and videos that I've taken over the years together. Because they're just all in my phone. I haven't put like an album together, nothing. And I like that they do that, you know.
Throw a filter on it and make sure the lighting's right.
And
I'm
like
with
that
you.
it's slow and I'm laughing and I'm, you know.
And it's from an angle down and not
Yes.
up, one of those type deals.
Yes, you know.
I'll make sure Josh does that.
Okay.
He'll be listening here.
And I hope that you're featured in that episode because we talked and you can say either absolutely she didn't do it because she talked about it so much. We actually did an improv about it. It's almost like her whole act. Or is she being Kenya?
Yes. Stay tuned.
Wow.
The story's
Thank
still
you.
being written.
I love it. Thanks so much.
You got it anytime.
Well, thank you guys. I loved that interview. I definitely want to have him back. You guys gave great questions. And of course, if you want to hear more and what I was thinking during this interview, you can go over to patreon.com/juicyscoop, or you just go to heathermcdonald.net and you join the Patreon there. The merch is there. My live dates are there. Got some shows coming up in the next couple months. I really want you to be there. So it's all there at heathermcdonald.net, and have a wonderful weekend.